Rebecca and I were looking for a fun night out. Bowling sounded like the perfect idea. So, we drove to the nearest bowling alley, rented our shoes, picked out some balls, and got a lane. There was just one problem. We both sucked at bowling. Rebecca was getting frustrated because she kept throwing gutter balls. I wasn't doing much better, so I couldn't exactly give her any advice. But the night took a turn for the worse when her ex-boyfriend showed up with his group of friends. Rebecca immediately froze. She refused to even look in his direction and whispered, "We need to leave. Now." I didn't argue. We packed up early. She went to the car while I returned our shoes. That's when I noticed something. Her ex was staring at me. I quickly looked away and left. I didn't tell Rebecca about it. Instead, I suggested we just play Wii bowling at home with some wine. That actually sounded like a better plan. Back home, we put on some music, poured some wine, and started playing Wii bowling. It turned out to be way more fun than the bowling alley. Until the music stopped. For a brief moment, there was total silence, and that's when we heard it. A loud thump. It sounded like something heavy had dropped upstairs. Rebecca and I immediately looked at each other. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. I nodded. I turned off the music completely. Now, there was just silence. I had to check. I grabbed a flashlight and went upstairs. I checked every bedroom, under every bed. Nothing. I told myself it was probably just the house settling or something. But deep down, something felt off. Rebecca and I kept playing, but after a while, we decided to call it a night. We took our wine upstairs and eventually fell asleep. 3 a.m. I woke up suddenly in the middle of the night. I wasn't sure why at first, but then I heard it again. Thump. Only this time, we were already upstairs. So what was above us? The attic. I felt my stomach drop. The attic door was right outside our bedroom. It was one of those pull-down doors with a ladder. I carefully slid out of bed, trying not to wake Rebecca. I walked up to the attic door and just listened. Creak. I froze. Something was moving up there. I didn't want to scare Rebecca, but I also couldn't ignore it. Was it an animal? A raccoon? I grabbed a broom just in case, then reached for the attic string and pulled it down. The metal ladder unfolded with a creak. The air smelled off. I slowly climbed up. The attic was pitch black. My phone's flashlight barely lit up the space. But then, I saw it at the far end of the attic. In the dim light, there was a rocking chair, and someone was sitting in it, slowly rocking. I felt my blood turn ice cold. The figure was completely still, facing away from me. Then, as if sensing my presence, it stopped rocking. The person turned, and I locked eyes with him. His face was gaunt, his skin pale. His lips were twisted into some bizarre expression, a mix of hatred and confusion. Then, he growled, not like a normal person, like an animal. I felt my chest tighten. He started to stand up. I bolted. I practically jumped off the ladder and slammed the attic door shut, holding it with all my strength. "Call the cops. Now," I screamed. Rebecca woke up in shock, but immediately grabbed her phone. Above me, the man started kicking the attic door. I held it down with everything I had. My arms were shaking. Then, the kicking stopped. Silence. And then, a sickening, twisted laugh. He started mumbling in a language I didn't understand. It almost sounded Russian. I kept pressing the attic door shut until I finally heard the sirens. The police arrived within minutes. Rebecca and I sat on the couch, waiting as the officers climbed into the attic. A few moments later, they dragged the man out. He was handcuffed, his wild eyes darting around the room. His lips were still twisted in that weird expression. When I was a teenager, my close group of friendship, Jason, Rowan, Anish, and Mir, what you'd probably call delinquents. We loved sneaking into abandoned places, breaking a few rules, and pushing the limits. Looking back, we were just a bunch of bored suburban kids in New Jersey, trying to make life interesting. One night, we decided to pull off something riskier. Rowan had just gotten a job at a bowling alley a few towns over. He was the type to hop from one job to another, so we all joked that he'd probably quit by next week anyway. That night, he had the keys to close up, and thanks to Anish the master manipulator, Rowan agreed to let us explore the place at 3 a.m. Of course, we had to make it interesting. We got a little drunk before heading out, except for Jason, who was always the responsible one since he insisted on driving. His dad had a BMW, and Jason liked being the one to end our adventures when he got tired. After arriving, Rowan unlocked the door, and we slipped inside. The bowling alley was dead silent, the neon lights humming faintly. Chip, the most cautious one in our group, kept telling us to be careful in his annoyingly high-pitched voice. We wanted to bowl, but Rowan said that was off limits. Then I had a genius idea. If we couldn't bowl, why not turn the lanes into makeshift slip and slides? It was probably the alcohol talking, but at that moment, it felt like the best idea in the world. After a while, we got bored and decided to explore the restricted areas. Rowan led us to a storage room filled with old equipment and stacked up boxes. We were messing around, knocking things over, when suddenly, thump, a deep echoing bang from somewhere below us. We froze. Jason, the only sober one, asked, "Does this place have a basement?" Rowan looked just as confused as we were. "Not that I know of." Anish, of course, was thrilled. He lived for this kind of stuff. Chip, on the other hand, was already whispering about how we were going to get Rowan fired. That's when Jason noticed something. In the corner of the room, partially covered by an old rug, was a hatch. The second he pulled back the rug, the air in the room shifted. This was no longer a dumb teenage adventure. The sound we heard something was down there. Chip wanted out immediately, but Jason was already pulling the latch open. He aimed his phone flashlight into the abyss. A rusted metal ladder led straight into darkness. Without hesitation, Jason climbed down. I wasn't about to be outdone, so I followed. Anish was right behind me, then Rowan. Chip refused to come. The basement smelled of dust and damp wood. It was packed with old, forgotten boxes stacked to the ceiling. Our flashlights cut through the darkness as we walked deeper inside. Then Anish spotted something. A door. Jason reached for the handle, but right before he touched it, thump. The same sound, right on the other side. We all stared at each other. An animal? No way. That sound was too loud. I took a step back. Jason, on the other hand, did the opposite. He cracked open the door. The light from our phones flickered into the room. It looked like another storage area. But then we saw it. A person. A human figure sat in the corner, legs crossed, facing away from us. Motionless. For a full minute, we stood frozen, barely breathing. Then, without warning, bang, the figure slammed its head against the wall. We turned and ran. I barely made it to the ladder before Rowan tripped over some junk. He cursed under his breath and the thing screamed. It wasn't just a yell. It was a guttural, inhuman shriek. Jason and I shot up the ladder. Anish followed. Chip was at the top, looking horrified. Rowan wasn't fast enough. He screamed, "Get off me!" Chip acted fast. He grabbed a metal pipe from the floor and chucked it down the hatch. Thud. Another scream, this one more furious. Rowan scrambled up the ladder. Chip grabbed his wrist and yanked him up just as the figure lunged. Chip slammed the hatch shut. We ran like hell, barely locking the door before jumping into the car. Jason floored it out of there, face blank with shock. Rowan finally spoke. "That thing, it jumped on my back." He was shaking. It clawed at me. I barely saw its face, but it was a man. Filthy, wild hair, eyes sunken in like he hadn't seen light in years. None of us spoke. Rowan quit the next day. No explanation. We never went back. To this day, we have no idea how that guy got down there. No way in. No way out. But that basement was hidden for a reason, and I'm never stepping foot in a bowling alley again.